Okay, so after 9 years, you were number one drive show in the country on The Edge, and Fletch gets a call from David Bryce about moving to ZM.
We used to call those the David. You'd always want the David Bryce call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's what you called it.
Can you tell us about that stage you were at, and
is it a case of the number comes up and you've saved the number?
Well, I didn't know the number, and I was back home in New Plymouth, and I just answered this number, which you'd never do now because it'd probably be some spam bot thing.
Totally.
And I was like, hello. And he's like, hello, it's David Bryce here. And I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. And I was like, hello. And he was like, yeah, some people want to meet with you, blah, blah, blah. And I just say, okay, sure, I'll get back to you. And hung up, and I called Vaughan, and I said, you'll never guess who I've just heard from.
Yeah, I remember I was at home in the lounge with my wife. We were watching something. Fletcher's like, you'll never guess who I've heard from. And I paused it, and I was like, you're fucking kidding me. And Sade's looking at me like, what? I'm like, just wait for it. Wait, I'll tell you the full story at the end. You know what wives are like when you're like interested in a phone call? She's like, pause it and tell me now. I'll put it on speakerphone.
What is it? Who is it? What is it?
This is not a speakerphone conversation. Becky, you be quiet.
And being that there's like literally 2 places you can work in New Zealand, until you have an offer and have leverage, that was it. You wouldn't get a pay. I mean, you'd get a pay rise, but it would be like, here you go.
Yeah.
You're lucky to have a job.
One of our workmates signed up for KiwiSaver through the company. And he got a handshake saying, congratulations on your 2.5% pay rise. And he came out and he's like, is it a pay rise? It's like, no, that's illegal. You can't. It's a government mandated savings program. They can't say that their contribution to your KiwiSaver is your pay rise. And it's like, shit, I signed. Oh, you'll know for next time.
Media works.
You'll know for next time. Fuck now.
But is it like, when you're in those situations at industry events and stuff like that, is there like, you coming out of a bathroom and someone from the opposition's coming in and, actually just want to have a conversation here about coming across? Or was it all cloak and dagger and until you get that
cloak and dagger
phone call?
Oh, the phone call was really unexpected.
Yeah.
We weren't sitting there waiting for it or thinking, this year's the year that we, get approached by the opposition. It was really unexpected, but I mean, that's only our experience. I know some people seek it out. And, as bad as it is, because you're just trying to advance your career and you're trying to see what else is out there for people. But it was because there's only 2 companies, if you went to the other one and said, hey, look, are there any opportunities coming up? And if they were like, no, but then it got out to the company you were working at that you were actively over the road asking what they had, it was real like...
You're back at the generator.
Yeah. Should be back off to Hamilton. See what you got down there. But which it shouldn't be, because, shit, everybody's just trying to look after themselves, You got to... It should almost be congratulated that you went to advance your own career.
Because was it not real? My memory's fuzzy, but was it not really?
No.
People crossed floors.
So
no.
I remember, like, as a teenager, so I grew up in New Plymouth, where Energy FM was the first station that Stephen Joyce started, which went on to become MediaWorks and The Rock and all of those stations. And so we always had like amazing shows. I remember we had Rick and Katrina, great. Ended up working with them over the years, great people.
Yeah.
And they ended up going to Christchurch to take over from Phil and Cy and Phil.
Wow.
Who went from ZM to More FM and stayed there forever. And that was, at the time, that was like massive because everybody just went with Cy and Phil.
Oh, yeah. Those
was
heritage shows that changed. Yeah, it was pretty massive.
And I think like until we did that, there wasn't really anything
there
major
hadn't been
like
any
that.
big changes, no.
Nothing that was as shocking. People were just like, what the hell? Because it was such a shock to everybody.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, it's moving from drive radio to breakfast radio, which is a big change to your lifestyles as well.
On a different...
and changing companies as well.
Companies. But was it, as soon as you had the call, did you know you were going straight away? Like, was it an obvious yes, or did it take a while to think about?
We had to like... we met with them a few times because we wouldn't have gone to the ZM that was the ZM at the time. And we wanted to know that it was...
Yeah, we just wanted some assurances that we weren't going to be sold the dream and then get here and it was just going to be the same old, same old. There was meetings and some back and forths and stuff. And I think they were the management at the time kind of respected that it wasn't just like, you show me the money, motherfuckers! Like, it was like, no, we want to know that, there's a long-term plan for us. And after 2 years, if it's taking a while to turn the ship around, it's not going to be like, chuck them overboard or anything like that. So, yeah, and I think they quite liked that we were, invested in the long-term game and to hear them out.
Sorry, are you driving those negotiations as a peer, or have you got a third party involved that's helping you steer those chats?
Until then, you just do it yourself, eh?
Yeah, but we at that time we kind of also got an agent just for legal, just to keep it all on the level and everything at that stage. So yeah, prior to that we hadn't been. So yeah, she was involved in that, but she was just like, you tell me what you want me to do, and yeah, I think that management at the time appreciated that we were dealing with it rather than completely handing it off to a third party and just saying that, hit that figure and we'll sign on a dotted line sort of thing. So yeah, there was a whole lot of things where we were like, well, what about this and what about this and what about this and what about that area and what's going to change here and there, and so yeah.
And it gets a bit complicated then, because you make the decision, you sign the deal, but then you go on gardening,
Dude, we had 6 months.
6
we
months?
No, not 6 months gardening leave. We had 6 months left at the edge after we said we were leaving, and everything just got we would walk into a room and it would just go quiet.
Yeah.
And not because there were people there and still are very good friends with them, but everybody was told not to tell us anything about any plans.
Really?
We were told, if it was happening on air, we were pretty much told the day it would be happening.
Yeah.
They
thought we'd tell.
Yeah.
We.
I don't know.
But we actually
did
did
espionage and spying.
You wouldn't have. The listener would never have known.
No, well, they didn't.
We were,
until the end. And then we had 3 months off for gardening leave.
that was in your contract? You had to do 6 months, 6
Well,
months?
we had
6
6
months
contracts.
left, and then
right.
when you had to give notice with a month or two, right? So
Yeah.
And it wasn't public, right? It was industry known, or did you on air go, we're leaving at the end of the year?
At the end of the last week, they let us say.
Yeah, we didn't really say anything because we didn't it didn't really mean much to the listener at the time, so we just carried on as per. And then just in the lead up to leaving, we were like, at the end of the year when we leave, we won't be coming back. But we were also not allowed to say where we were going.
Right.
Right up until the announcement, which was not until April.
People were like,
year.
you're going to Hauraki?
Hauraki?
We're like, look, we don't know.
And then saying Hauraki listeners like, those better not be fucking coming here. It's like, okay, everybody calm down. But it was so good. And I think it's healthy to step away from it for 3 months and be like, holy shit, the world isn't ending.
Yeah, the world goes on.
We're not surgeons. We're not saving people's lives. We're just having fun and hopefully brightening some people's days, which is cool. And it's an honor to be able to do it. But at the same time, when we weren't doing it, the world didn't end.
Yeah, we didn't get invited to the Christmas parties, did we?
No.
In our last year.
Yeah.
Few months.
No.
You flicked the lights off, didn't you, to close up for the year?
Both jobs in radio I've left, I've had to turn the lights off on the way out.
That's amazing.
It was Christmas Eve, eh? We're like, what do we do with the
So
swipe card?
this is Christmas. Dun, 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 dun. Turn off the Christmas lights, turn off the lights.
Very
out the door.
trusting.
Yeah.
Very trusting.
Yeah. Smash the place
I stole
up.
so much shit. I went down to the car, basically
prize
got my
cupboard?
car, but I literally just backed it up to the prize cupboard and then just pushed it.
Yeah,
all
good
in.
stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Looking back, was that an exciting period or a stressful period? Do you remember?
Very stressful.
Stressful.
Initially,
you lived in Colombia for 2 months. What do you mean?
no! I mean, when the deal, because there was a lot of stuff going down,
In Colombia.
In the
When the deal went sour in Colombia, there was a lot of stuff
I
going down.
fled to Colombia.
Bang, 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 bang.
No, it's just stressful while the negotiations were happening, and then once the deal was done, there was still ongoing.
I didn't find it stressful. I don't know. Maybe. I can't remember it as being stressful.
A medium stress.
At the moment, there could have been some stress involved, but it was like an exciting part.
Because we knew that we backed ourselves.
Yeah.
We weren't it wasn't imposter syndrome where we're like, we can't do a breakfast show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You smashed it for 9 years.
Yeah.
You got a bit of base.
God, if anybody can get gardening leave, do it.
Oh my God, so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I had 6 months once. It was phenomenal.
Beautiful.
It wasn't garden leave. It was paid out to the end of the year. It was, it was fantastic.
Good
Lovely.
stuff.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Should we aim to be made redundant?
But the shift from drive to breakfast is
Indescribable.
Were you?
We'll move on. We'll
young
move on
kid-
to the next topic.
Young kids at the time,
yeah.
that's a big changer. And
It was, I had a 2-year-old, and then 6 weeks after we started at ZM, my second daughter was born. So I think having a kid who wasn't a great sleeper was good prep for breakfast radio, because it was like, oh no, you don't sleep now. Or you are awake now for the day. There shall be no downtime. So yeah, I think so. But it is a massive lifestyle change. Like drive, I think of those 9 years, how many sleep-ins I had where I could have been up doing something productive where I was just like, no, fuck that. 9 o'clock, snooze at 9 and wake up at 11. Like, that's ridiculous.
Roll into work. And then we always started work when we worked afternoons with a lunch break.
With a 1.5 hour lunch break.
We'd make our lunch together.
Yeah, we'd just sit in the staff room just talking and people would be like, oh, God. Yeah. Good times. But no, it's drastically changes. It's
like I'm in bed at 8 o'clock, 8:15 most nights.
Like my dad's a dairy farmer and has been for as long as I can remember. And he said, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, but you get up at the same time as me. He's like, yeah, but I don't have to talk or think or anything. I have to deal with cows and just push them in the right direction. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I don't know how you do it. I like talking at that time of the day. I was like, oh, okay. And it is kind of like mentally exhausting, but you can fall into the trap of being like, I think I'm mentally and physically exhausted, so I'm going to have a 3-hour nap and then spend all day doing nothing and eating Best Ugly Bagels for the first 6 months of breakfast and putting on 18 kgs. That happens to a lot of people.
And
it's
that's
not
the
specific.
Yeah, it is wild dynamic when your day is essentially finished at 9:30. I know you've got meetings and things after your show, right?
Yeah.
But like, you've got a whole day to do
rules.
things every day.
Yeah, it rules. Afternoons, it's so good.
But it is weird because unless you've done it, you don't understand. Because I remember when we were at the Edge and breakfast would be like out the door at 9:30, be like, oh, look at them.
Yeah.
And you'd be
As
like,
we
it's got it
started the day
so
with a
easy.
1.5 hour lunch break.
But yeah, it's exhausting, like, because you're just mentally drained. So you get off here at 9 and you're just done. Some days you're just like, I'm done with people for today.
And yeah, the glory days of the afternoon 3-song sweep, you're talking after every song and every quarter hour is going to be looked at differently. So there's a lot more content and it's just endless.
Does that mean there's a lot more prep, like during the day before the next morning's show?
Yeah, that's when we do most of our prep for what's happening the next day as well. I mean, we don't lock it in, but we'll send through a list of discussion points or news items or ideas that we have the night before, and then piece it all in the next morning.
What time are you rolling in these days? Has it? Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it?
Gentleman's hours.
Hayley and I are in at just after 5 with the producers as well, and then Vaughan rolls in anywhere between.
I live a long way away.
You live just by Hayley, and she manages to make it in half an hour.
She drives an Audi and I drive a Jimny. I'm just saying there's a speed difference.
Okay.
Not as early as I perhaps should,
but has it decreased over time? Like when you first started, you were in at like 4 o'clock, and then now it's like.
I can't remember.
Mine decreased by 10 minutes. I think.
Okay.
I was like, I don't need to be. I literally wake up and just chuck my clothes on and I'm out the door.
Right.
Yeah. No. Well, I've definitely got later. But you hear about breakfast shows getting in at 3, and I'm like, that's fucking midnight. Like that's madness.
There was that phase you were going to the gym before.
True. Yeah, I used to do that.
Work. Is that still going?
No, God,
Secretly, too. He didn't tell us.
No.
Because he'd always bag gyms. He'd always said, I hate gyms.
Don't go to gyms.
And then he started getting muscle, and everyone's like, how are you doing this?
I I've laid off the bagels. What can I say? Have you thought of investing in isogenics? Yeah, before work. And that was good, but the afternoon was a write-off. So I was like getting myself up, and I'd have all the energy at work because it was just after the gym, but then afterwards it was just a crash, and it was just like I was just a grumpy prick in the afternoons, and I was just like, this is like not I'm not sleeping enough. And
you got shingles.
I didn't get shingles.
That did it for you.
Yeah, that laid off the before work gym sessions. Yeah. But yeah, it was just robbing Peter to pay Paul. You were getting 2 hours extra in the morning, but it was 2 hours that you were too grumpy to do anything productive with your kids in the afternoon. So trade off.
Sleep on the couch. You've
mentioned Hayley there. How important is that female voice in terms of your show? Because you've had Megan and now you've got Hayley. So what balance does that... I'm putting words in your mouth, but what does that bring?
Oh, it brings a whole new element. Yeah, it's just cool having other people in, because I mean we probably know what each other are going to say before we say it. We've worked together for so long, and you can kind of be like, I know if I say this, he's going to pick it up and slam it, and it's going to be all good. It's just good having a third person in, just another perspective, and like the female perspective is needed because the stations we've worked at have been female skewed. And while we don't, dolly up content, for lack of a better term, am I going to get cancelled for saying dolly up content?
I don't know, maybe.
We've said a lot worse.
Good.
And we're still going.
Yeah, come for us. I think it's just important to have that female perspective, because we can. It comes sometimes if you were specifically like, okay, now we've got to remember we're female skewed, so if someone could come in a little with more of a female-friendly angle, it could come across, condescending or disingenuous. So yeah, it's good to have.
But you were able to sort of bring your team with you as well when you made the move, right? You
Yep.
had producer James and Megan
Yep.
came across.
Yep.
So that was like a non-negotiable?
They would just open, said, who do you currently work with? And we'd established a working relationship with them. And we thought if we're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, new day part, way more content, we're not going to know anyone else that's on that team outside of our team. It would probably be best to bring in our team as one less hurdle to get over in it. So, it wasn't a non-negotiable, but they said, who do you want to bring? And they were people we were really happy with and we were working with at the time. So,
yeah.